Hello and welcome to PlayStation Access, where I've just come out of my exclusive demo of Marvel's Avengers. Now, as somebody with an Excelsior tattoo, I have to say, I've got a notepad full of questions, and conveniently, I'm seated next to Noah Hughes, the creative director on the game. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Hopefully I have answers.
Okay, good. I'm ready, right? So the first thing I was really excited to see was the combat, because this was obviously something we didn't see in the conference itself, and I understand Vince Napoli, who PlayStation Access fans will know I am ever so slightly obsessed with, is your combat designer. So tell us more about what it's going to look like, because it was actually surprisingly intricate.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked, because one of the things that's tough in a trailer is to showcase everything you want to about the game, and the combat is one of the amazing parts of this game. I think the ambition is clear when you make an Avengers game that it can't just star one hero, right?
Yeah.
That you need to showcase multiple Avengers fighting together. So first, that means you need to be able to deliver any of those core heroes as if they were the star of their own game. So when you play Hulk, you don't want to feel like it's a copy and paste of another hero. You want to feel like the Incredible Hulk. So that was one of our commitments, is to only make as many heroes as we could deliver that sense of uniqueness. But then the fun part is to bring those together. Part of the Avengers is they're not just a single hero, but they're a team of heroes. And then you start to contrast their abilities and say, if I throw a Hulk into a fight and an Iron Man into a fight, and they're each tailored to their own personalities of a hero, you have Hulk in the middle of this crowd of melee, and he's feeling so powerful and smashing and just creating so much damage. And then you've got Iron Man buzzing overhead, and he's taking out high-value air targets and things like that. So what I think the two things is heroes that feel like the heroes, and then a co-op experience that throws them together in a way that you really get that Avengers team-up experience.
And so, speaking of the heroes, obviously this is a title where you have creative license over the heroes that we perhaps have seen elsewhere and understand their stories from. So, are we going to see heroes that play as we expect them, or will there be kind of new surprises to how those characters perform?
That's a great question. I think our goal is to really deliver on the expectations of the fans. So we have a rich history of Marvel lore and comic books and movies and everything to draw from, and we definitely want to deliver on those expectations. But we do want to deliver something fresh. We want to take people on a new journey. So we really, at Crystal, we're passionate about delivering a blend of both, that these need to feel like the heroes that you know and love, but we really want to surprise you with how we bring them together, what story we tell, and making sure that it's not just a world story, but it's a human story. It's a story about these characters and how this situation creates unique challenges to them as characters and as a team.
And so something else we've seen is Taskmaster. Now, I was so excited to see Taskmaster, I have to say, because he's kind of an underrated villain, I think. And so I just basically, as soon as I saw him, I was like, oh yes, particularly since he's popped up in Black Panther quite recently in the comic book run. He's kind of had a little bit of a comeback, but not many people know who he is. So why was that somebody that you chose?
That's a great question. I think one of the hardest things about working with an Avengers property is what a wealth of backstory there is to draw from. And so anytime we talk about what hero we're going to do or what villain we're going to do, the hardest thing is not doing certain villain. Like we would love to do more than we can possibly do. So to your point, a lot of what governs that choice is what's right for the story, what's right for this game. And in this case, the Taskmaster's ability to master any of the hero's moves, that his role of being that reflective challenge to these heroes actually is an important part of the story, and each of the villains that we bring into the story challenges the heroes in different ways, and we're actually excited to announce more enemies and villains in the future. But Taskmaster, like you said, is perfect for the opening of this game.
Absolutely. And so speaking of villains, are we going to be able to play as villains?
We have nothing to announce there. We are focusing on the 5 playable heroes today.
And speaking of 5 playable heroes, now we did all see that statue of Captain America. So is there anything we should know there about how, we've both seen him dead and alive?
Well, you definitely in the playable experience, We see that you play as Captain America at A-Day, which is the opening of the game.
Yeah.
And in that context, we get to see him both being the leader of the group and showcasing some of his unique skills, including the signature shield moves and things like that. So that's super awesome. And then we pick up with the group 5 years after A-Day. We've had this tragic event. The Avengers are blamed for it. They've disbanded. And Cap actually was lost in the explosion, went down with the helicarrier that was on display that day. So we open in a world without Captain America and what that means. And especially in the face of an emerging threat, the players are really enlisted in a critical mission that they need to reassemble the Avengers. They need to bring them back together. And in a world without Cap, that's all that much more important.
Sounds terrifying. I can barely imagine a world without Cap. So what does progression look like? So, I understand we're going to have a skill tree. How much can you mix and match your character? How much are you locked into, say, being kind of stealthy as Black Widow or being kind of a brawler as Hulk?
Yeah, that's a great question, because there's both. There's the core personality of a hero. So Hulk is going to be sturdy and smashy in a lot of ways. But every hero has versatility. So even Hulk, even though he doesn't have range-based weapons, he can reach down to the ground, rip out a piece of rock, and throw that. So every hero has a certain amount of versatility, and the players can actually customize the heroes to dial that in a little bit to their play preference. So you have a skill tree. So as you level up these heroes, you can choose which skills you want to focus on. Additionally, you have equipment and gear slots. So you'll unlock things, you'll earn things, and you'll be able to slot them in and dial your hero in a little bit more. So there's this sense that, and one other layer, which is, I love the different versions of Hulk or Iron Man, and one of the things players will be able to do is unlock outfits that personalize the visuals of that as well. So between these three things of skills, equipment, and outfits, we really feel like you'll be able to dial in some gameplay preferences and some style preferences that really make the roster feel your own.
So I'm also really excited for online play. I mean, I can't imagine how good it's going to be to grab a group of friends and just be the Avengers, which is what I've always wanted. So, will you have to go through the campaign first, or is this something you can kind of dive into without playing that story? You can dive in and play it as part of the campaign. So this is probably one of the more complex things to explain about the game, because we are blending the best of a narrative-based campaign with a continuous play multiplayer experience. And one of the things that's exciting to us is when you start the campaign, it will feature levels that really are catered to a hero. So you might have that first level where you're the Hulk and you're really learning Hulk skills, you're being challenged to master those skills, but then you're also unlocking a number of missions across the world, and you can choose whatever hero you want to play in those missions, and you can also team up with other players in those missions. So it was very important to us that we created an experience that blended the two, that narrative on-ramp is important, that these aren't just a set of powers and a set of outfits, that these are characters with personalities and with relationships, and our story brings you into that world and introduces you to those complex characters. But then jumping in, telling your own stories, assembling together online really is about living out those superhero dreams. So our game structure is intended to introduce you to that world through the campaign and then let you continue to play in it. Another thing that's interesting is you can both play the campaign entirely single player if you want. So if you're looking for a personal story-based experience, you can do that. You can also jump into multiplayer right away. You play through the introductory level, but then you can jump ahead and say, I don't care about spoilers, just let me play with my friends with all the characters in all of the places. So it's this balance between a character-driven action adventure that you'd expect from Crystal Dynamics, but really treating that as an on-ramp into a world of superheroes. So, I mean, it's just evident how much work, how much thought has been put into making this, such an authentic experience if you're a fan of the Avengers, if you're a fan of Marvel. So what did it feel like taking on that responsibility? Because I can't imagine.
It's such an honor, but also a scary responsibility that we have There's fans all over the world who have grown up with these characters, and so one of the things that was important to us is to draw from all sources of inspiration, that we're not specifically focused on movie designs or comic designs, but it is important to us that we draw from everything that's come before us, so that what we deliver does feel unique, and it's a unique take on these characters, but it really is the next thing for the Avengers, and that was important for us to feel authentic. We've collaborated with Marvel, that people like Bill Roseman, he worked closely with the Spider-Man team. He's so good at understanding these heroes and has a vast knowledge, encyclopedic knowledge really, of all of the Marvel lore. So to be in a brainstorm and say, oh, we need an enemy like this or whatever, and he's like, oh, what about this, what about that? It's probably one of the funnest parts of the job, is digging into that vast array of canon that we can draw from and saying, what's the best thing for our story?
Sounds like a dream. So do you have a favorite hero?
My favorite hero right now is Widow. I think she is awesome. I like she uses her pistol, she has a grapple, she can get around really quick, she's super agile, she has a variety of equipment like Widow's Bite and things like that. And so generally right now she's my favorite to play, but I feel that even as I go through maybe a favorite hero every so often, I migrate. I'm like, I just can't settle down. The one that I always come back to is, on a bad day, playing Hulk is just satisfying. That to be able to smash, just feel that powerful and invincible. I love playing the Incredible Hulk. So today it's Widow, but I find that if I had to give up Hulk, I don't know if you could pry it out of my hands yet.
So what's it
Which
like?
is a good thing, is you don't have to. That's why it's the Avengers. Well, it's not a single hero. It's all
that's
of
what
them.
I thought generally watching it. Like for me, as I was saying, I'm a big fan of Vince Napoli. I loved God of War and the Axe, which obviously took a little bit of inspiration from Thor's hammer. So as soon as I saw Thor's hammer, I was like, I love that.
So
but then
good.
the Hulk, and I've heard about this grappling hook. I'm very excited. And I guess that's kind of my next question is, when you look at kind of Crystal Dynamics and the games that you do, they're often about kind of ordinary people doing kind of extraordinary things. And in this, it's kind of, very extraordinary people. And I was interested in how you balance characters that are meant to be so powerful without making them feel kind of too powerful, too easy, to making everything not really feel like a challenge.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. It's one of the challenges. It's important for us that our heroes are challenged and our players are challenged. So from a gameplay standpoint, a lot of what we rely on is an escalating threat, right? That at the beginning you see something go wrong, but that's not even the worst of what you'll face in this game. So it's important that the threats to the world keep getting bigger, and that challenges Earth's mightiest heroes to really be their best. I think the other part of it is the human side. That what I love about Marvel is the humanity behind the heroism, and that one of the challenges we throw at our heroes is just how they're going to deal with these situations. And we definitely draw on common themes like Banner struggling with the Hulk and that rage and how he deals with that. But we feel through our story we get to shine a new light on it. So I think for us, both challenging the heroes emotionally and dramatically, and also challenging the players through escalating threats, our hope is we start with superheroes and we escalate from there.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. I had a big notebook of questions and you've answered them all exactly how I wanted to hear. So I am incredibly excited.
Well,
Thank you.
We're super excited to share. Thank you.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. I don't think that's even possible. But let us know your favorite hero in the comments. And of course, make sure you've liked, if you liked it, and subscribed and hit the notification bell to stay up to date with everything in the world of PlayStation.
For the players.